Welcome to TAAP Connect, the digital transformation podcast. In today's episode, we have Steve Higgon and Paul George, two experts in the field of AI and software development. Today, they discuss the opportunities and impacts surrounding the mainstream arrival of AI technology and how its power can be harnessed in software development. So join us as we dig a little deeper into AI.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Paul.
Here we are again in the podcast room, and we're here today to talk more about AI. It was a subject on a previous podcast that we presented. However, we got a lot of feedback about that, a lot of questions asking more detail about AI. Of course, we've answered those questions, but for the wider audience, we're here again today to discuss AI in a bit more detail. So we all know it's a big subject at the moment, isn't it? AI. It's on, everybody's talking about it. And it seems that everybody's already using it in some way or fashion. I know my own son has been using it to help him with his college work. And I also know that colleagues of mine, and I've had a go as well, can use it to help pull together proposals as well. But obviously we touched on AI previously, working in software development, and how that can affect software development, how it can shorten the software development life cycle as well. So, yes, Steve, can you sort of expand a bit more on that?
Yeah, there's a number of aspects actually to this. Obviously, everyone's heard of ChatGPT. And what ChatGPT does is actually helps programmers create the code that they need to insert into the applications. And this is helping people actually then reduce the time it takes to write software and to use features or aspects of a programming environment that maybe they aren't so familiar with. But the base of this is actually you're still writing applications. But the area that's of real exciting kind of interest is actually AI-assisted applications development. Now that sounds very similar, but they're quite different. AI-assisted applications development isn't just creating code snippets, it's creating whole applications in a few seconds.
AI's been in the foreground now for roughly about 5 or 6 months. And 5 or 6 months down the line, everybody's heard about AI. It's absolutely everywhere. So actually, I first heard it through my own son telling me about it, which is quite weird because I'm actually in software development in IT. But it's usually the kids that kind of hear about these things first and start using them. And of course, we've heard about students creating dissertations that are helping them to pass exams. And obviously there's issues around that. And I think there's policies and policing being developed to sort of help with that sort of situation. I know we've been ourselves developing AI in our own platform more recently. With that, I was wondering if you could just open up that discussion a bit more and talk about AI and how that works in software development.
Of course. So the ChatGPT, which is obviously one of the most well-known services at the moment, that's effectively being used like an AI assistant. So as you've talked about, students, business people, they're creating dissertations, they're creating PowerPoints, they're using it as a powerful research tool. And programmers are doing exactly the same thing. ChatGPT has a whole list of capabilities built into it that allow you to actually then ask of it best practice for how you talk to a database, how you upload a file. So, but that is an assistant type function where you're getting snippets of code that can actually then help you accelerate how quickly you can write the software. The objective is that the code that you're given is actually now being machine generated by ChatGPT, which means that you can copy and paste it in. You need to make sure you understand what you're doing with this when you do it, but what it then saves you is actually having to write all of that by hand, which then means actually you've got more predictable code that's been written because there is less human interaction to write the software. The benefit of that is actually the software is typically better standard, better quality, and actually from a testing point of view, you're not going to actually have as many bugs as you would traditionally. But it's still being used as a tool to actually help you write a bigger system, a bigger application. The really exciting area that actually AI is actually then coming into its own around is AI-assisted applications development, which is actually then creating completely the whole application from scratch.
So one of the questions we had from our previous podcast that touched on AI was, I'm a developer, software developer. Is this something I should be worried about? Is this something that's going to kind of put my profession out of business? It's going to make me obsolete?
No, not at all. AI-assisted applications development is then allowing you to then take a design, an idea, and run it. And with AI-assisted applications development, you can actually put a design into the front-end tooling, press a button, and 2 seconds later you've got an application. What this provides then for an organization and a developer is actually to then elevate actually your understanding of the application you're building to not how you've written the code, and be very kind of protective of the effort you've put into it, because it's only taken you a few seconds to generate it. What you can now do is use your developer skills to work more effectively and closely with the business to then take the ideas that the business has, the changes to the process, to actually then document that in a form that the AI-assisted development tools can then use, from which you can then build a complete application. And I don't mean just code snippets. I mean a completely fully functioning application with a user interface, talking to databases, saving and persisting data. This has a huge impact actually on the way that actually software can be developed. So it's a very exciting time.
AI is being used extensively for providing businesses data insight. So it's crunching a lot of data and adding that artificial intelligence spin to that data as well. But it's being used for a lot more now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is something very different to number crunching and actionable insights or decision management around actually the data that you've got. This is now about actually then starting to change the speed and pace at which organizations can change their workflow and their processes, and actually then transform and streamline actually what they're doing. Historically, obviously, the process of building applications has been quite time consuming and costly, but you can almost now run ideas. You can take a concept, you can codify it into a design template, which you inject into the AI engine, you press the button, and you've got an application. The benefit of this is that actually, rather than taking a process where it has historically taken a very long period of time to first document actually what the user wants, then give it to a programmer who may not understand actually the experience and the insight of what the end user needs, then has to get up the curve to actually then build this. You can now press the button in a few seconds and build the app. It makes a tremendous difference in terms of the ability for an organization to react to agile changes to the way they operate, how they function, and actually then improve the overall business operation.
So the real effort is in actually the specification, the discovery, let's say, of what you need to change, how you want to improve your process.
Exactly. What you're now doing is you're moving away all of that effort to actually then describe to a programmer what to build, to now describing actually what the design is of the solution, which is a subtle difference. But what it means is all of the effort that it would normally take for a programming team and all the testers and everyone involved in that process to write the application has now been completely eliminated. This is actually now moving to the ability for the user to work with designers to actually then describe what they need, and all of the long time frames and effort involved and cost of actually building the application now is being handled by these AI assisted applications. And these tools are actually then designed specifically to understand how to build an application based upon an input design specification. So this then obviously is going to completely transform how organizations can move forwards.
How much time would that save the build of an application? So the software development lifecycle, typically for if you are coding bespoke development for a medium-sized project solution?
Well, I can answer that actually quite nicely. At the moment, we're working with a customer that actually wanted a no-code CRM. They wanted to have the ability to be able to then build their own application. The actual requirements of the CRM and the sales lead management they had, it's very simple generally. So a lead management capability, opportunities, clients, communications, sending out emails. The specification, the design for that took around 2 hours to then define, which is actually then helping to make sure that we've got all the data that we need for each kind of aspect of the application. And then we press the button. 2 seconds later, we've now got a fully functional CRM. That's the benefit of what this technology does. And as the actual customer then looks at this and says, I'd like to capture additional information or attributes about a particular process that they're building their CRM for, we can regenerate it. So whereas that actually would then have normally taken maybe a week or two to actually build an application, this is now seconds. So now they can actually then take control of their own IP. They can actually extend it, integrate it into other systems that they've got. And it's theirs to actually then be able to then, more importantly, manage and maintain for the future, because they've got access to all the sources for everything that was generated. So this is, again, a very exciting aspect to this kind of evolution of the software, because actually now the IP around actually what they've created, their unique design, their unique approach to actually what they're doing can now all be codified, built very quickly, and actually then added to their balance sheet as IP for their particular business.
Wow. And you obviously explained there you've used no code and artificial intelligence in the same development.
Yeah, so the reason, and this is actually a particular strategy that TAAP has taken, is the fact that actually when applications generate applications, which is obviously what we're talking about with the AI-assisted technology, and this isn't new, this has been around as a concept for nearly 2 decades. The problem was that prior to where we are now, the applications that were being machine generated were almost unintelligible. And once they were generated, you couldn't easily maintain them and manage them, and they were very difficult to actually understand. What TAAP has taken as an approach, and there are many people working in different ways, but the way TAAP has operated is that we can then take our design, feed it through an AI front end, the assisted developer. It generates the executable, the output application, as a no-code environment, which then means you can then maintain this for the next 5 or 10 years, but actually it's intelligible for you to be able to look at and make final changes or tweaks to. And this is actually a significant benefit actually over the challenges that people had previously, because you couldn't maintain an app. And that's one of the things that actually people forget. It's not about creating the application. That's a certain aspect of the cost. It's about them maintaining it for the next 36, 60 months, 10 years, however long you need the application to operate. That is a key part that is always missed by people when they start to build an app. They forget that the biggest cost of it is the maintenance and the challenges of how you actually then allow your business to be able to react to change.
So even if you used AI to create a bespoke application, not on any platform, just pure coding, and I understand there could be different elements of coding pulled together to work together to actually create this application, that's still going to be a lengthy process.
Historically, we've got very close relationships with Microsoft, and the former head of AI at Microsoft explained to me that the problem is that whatever you know now today about AI is going to change in 18 months. This is a really fast-moving area. But one of the byproducts of what we're doing with the AI work and the research that we're doing is generated AI-assisted apps. So what we're doing today will not be the same as what we're doing in 18 months' time, and it's just going to keep getting better and better and better. And that's actually where the benefit of using this technology comes in, because the more people are using the technology, the more we can train our models to then improve the quality of the applications and improve what is generated. So it's a fantastic time to actually be in the software development industry, but also more importantly for business, because rather than worrying about lines of code that we're creating, we're now creating IP and knowledge, so that actually we can then change the way that businesses can operate in a more performant and effective manner.
Brilliant. So really, to wrap things up, what we've explored and discussed here, the realization is that, AI has been great for insightful data, for reporting, and that's kind of where the focus is at the moment with many businesses, many development houses. However, we're seeing now AI-aided applications in their own right, which can, I guess, provide the reporting that you need as an output from that application anyway.
Absolutely. Well, everything is now accelerating to such a pace that actually it's around the power of now, building applications, building solutions quickly at low cost. And of course, obviously, how do you get this application? How do you get these applications and benefit from it? Microsoft, for example, have got the Microsoft Marketplace. TAAP and others have got technology in there that actually a business can now download and install within 5 minutes, create their design, inject the design into the technology, and then from that you've now got an application that's been machine generated, that's extremely robust, and is actually then giving you a fraction of the cost it's taken traditionally to actually build software than you would have done before. So you're now in a stage where actually everything is lining up to then help us actually embrace and drive accelerated digital transformation, and which is obviously an area that obviously TAAP specialises in, but also many other organisations are focusing on as well.
Thanks, Steve. Well, that will wrap up the session, talking about AI in more detail. It was great talking again, and we'll talk next time.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Brilliant.